Yep. Second. I accept. Any other nominations? All right, it's closed. All in favor? All opposed? No. Okay, thank y'all. I appreciate that. I think we've got a great board, and we've got a real good board. We've got different thoughts, different opinions, and that's what we need to have in here. Next item is the vice chairman. Do I hear any nominations? Okay, Bill's been nominated. Do I have a second? All right. Any other nominations? If not, all in favor? All opposed? No. Bill, you still got it, buddy. The next item is secretary. Do I have any nominations? Okay, second. Okay, any other nominations? If not, all in favor? Murtis? Say aye. All opposed? No. Okay. The next item on the agenda is public comment. Do we have any public comment? No public comment. Next item is approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to approve the minutes from last meeting? Do I have a second? Okay, any discussion? If not, minutes are approved. We're not going to have employee of the month this month, so it's a little different. Okay. Next item will be the Weems Foundation update. Colleen?
That's me.
Come on.
Colleen? It's nice. That's how my son says my name. I love it.
Do what?
My son says Colleen also.
Okay.
Yeah. All right, so hi, everybody.
I'm a little southern, so
I know you
are. That's it. I kind of drag it out a little bit.
It's great. So good morning, everybody. I'm Colleen Zester, for those of you who I haven't met before. I'm the acting chair of the foundation. Wanted to give a quick update. There are a couple of key slides, right? In 2023, I took on the great opportunity to chair the foundation. Prior to that, for about 3 or 4 years, the foundation was somewhat dormant. So in 23, we predominantly just supported through volunteerism activities in the community and started to generate awareness and interest in joining the foundation. The start of 24, met with some members of the board and David, and talked about how the 65th anniversary represented a really great opportunity, not only for us as a foundation, but for the hospital to continue to generate goodwill, awareness, and therefore support of the foundation. What we came to realize across all of this year is that almost every conversation between January and June included us having to remind people what the foundation's mission was, therefore what our goal was, why it was important for them to care, ask more questions, and get involved. So in the beginning of the year, we identified a few primary events. The primary events would be the health fair, which was the second annual health fair. Then, of course, in June, we announced that we would be hosting the first gala here in the community supporting the hospital. As you all know, the gala took place in November, and I'll give you some updates from that. And then some secondary events that were identified for both generating goodwill as well as fundraising support of our efforts. In July, we had a booth at the Waterfront Festival. In that instance, sorry, I'm not feeling great today. In that instance, we not only generated awareness of the foundation and our efforts, and again, why people should care and want to get involved, but we started selling tickets for the gala. We sold raffle tickets, and a really excited couple won tickets to the gala, and they were there, and they were enthusiastic attendants at the gala last month. We also sold some lemonade. This way. Is that better? Better? Okay. Might be all my jewelry. I don't know. So that was in July, and then of course November was our gala. That's the thing that people are most interested to know. When I see people now in the community, it's a blessing and a curse. People now know my face and Bill's everywhere we go. they actually ask me questions about the hospital because they still think somehow I'm employed by the hospital. So that's okay. That's an affiliation that I'm proud of. But I usually pull Bill quickly in, or I redirect them here to David. The next question they ask is, how much money did we raise at the gala? So we're very proud of the outcome of the gala from both a goodwill and awareness perspective, but we also managed to raise some money. When you build something like that from scratch, um, you're generating a need for, sorry, last time he told me to talk too quiet, now I talk too loud. So we were garnering financial support, emotional support, community support. We had a high level of investment by local businesses and community members. So is there a slide that could be projected? Or, okay, you all have a printout. So on page 2 of your printout, um, the gala is midway down. The number that people are looking for is our net. We netted out $5,500. So our expenses were a little above 19,000. Revenue came in at 25,000. You'll see a significant number there. Partner and businesses in the community donated either in support or actual materials or things we needed, over close to $8,000. To me, that shows a tremendous support of this hospital, which is probably, to me, the most important number on that page. But the number people are most interested in is how much money did we make. So $5,500 in net income will go into our account, and we will continue our fundraising efforts into next year in order to present the hospital with a more substantial and meaningful donation. We did have some other small fundraising events, as I mentioned. The secondary event of the July 3rd event really created more goodwill than income, but it did create some income. And the partner that we worked with last year, the lemonade vendor out of Atlanta, Georgia area, she's going to come back. And there was no other lemonade previous years at that event, so it was a big seller. And again, another opportunity for us to press the flesh with the community. Any questions? I know
it was excellent. I had a great time. The best part when Bill got off the table and started dancing right there. I mean, that was, no, I think it was excellent, and I think the goodwill generated really outreaches the
financial.
Yeah, I mean, and so you got a little nest egg there to work with, and stuff like that. So it was an excellent time. Everybody had a great idea, and it was a very, I don't know. Those of y'all that went, go have a good night. I saw, so we had an excellent time.
Well, great. On the next page, you'll see that we're planning to do something similar in November of 25. We already have several people have come to me raising their hand that they want to be involved in some way, not in either planning the event or actually have a few people who have applied for roles on the board. So to me, the trend is heading in a really good direction. We've already identified that we'll need to find a new venue and some other exciting, interesting wrinkles in having another gala, but unless we hear anything significantly different, the plan is to do another one next year.
I've got a question for you.
Okay.
The folks, you've got a lot of people now that are very interested in the hospital. From my experience, that folks like that would they be interested in every couple of 3 months, some of them come in, sit down with the CEO, maybe a little coffee, donuts, meet some of the staff, let them talk to them, and a quick tour of the hospital, and let them know that we are emergency services. We do have what we have. Would people be interested in that possibly?
I think, first to be clear, I think it's a really smart idea to ride on this wave that we've created, right? To maintain momentum. I'll just be clear that the foundation's remit is not a PR arm of the hospital. However, given my background, I'm more than happy to spearhead some of that.
Well,
long answer to your question, I think it's a great idea. We actually had spoken with David about something similar to that before the gala. The people who are reaching out to me right now, or in the last month since the gala, have been asking questions about how do I get involved next year. But I think we can turn that into creating champions in the community through those contacts. So I think it's a really great idea, and I can take next steps on setting something up with David and others to make that happen.
I think it's time to do, and maybe the hospital takes some initiative. And I'm just brainstorming here.
Yeah.
Maybe you could have with the local minister to come visit the hospital. Invite. Maybe half of them. There's a pile of ministers. Sure. Make sure you don't forget nobody neither. If you'll hurt some feelings. But I do think now is the time to let people know what all the hospital does, and we could tonight, and some of your folks, if they'd want to, I think it'd be a good. Have you ever been on a tour of the hospital?
Myself? Oh, sure.
You have? Well, I mean, I'm saying, I think that would be a good effort to get our name out there.
Well, I think you're right, because while the focus of my talking points today has been on the positive, the executive summary statement on the front points to this perception in the community. So people are generally like net neutral, or if they haven't been in the hospital, they're still holding on to some old story or something their neighbor told them.
I know.
So I think this idea is great, and I can tell you, when my team was out there trying to garner sponsors or donors for the gala, and we heard, well, my aunt was there in 2004, we would suggest to them, well, call up David Walker. What questions you have, or I'm not suggesting you just walk in and have a tour of the hospital, but sort of along the lines of give us another chance, because that's outdated information.
I know, not just off the cuff tour, but if you people want to walk around and look at the hospital.
I think it deserves a formal PR strategy, in my opinion.
Well, I understand.
Yeah. Right. So, in addition to a formal PR push, sorry, Michael, just one. I would also recommend that all of you on the board, you all touch different parts of the community, do something similar. When you get questions, or maybe people don't even say anything, maybe it's just a look on their face. Maybe you do something similar. Well, when's the last time you were there? Ask another question and see if you can pull them closer to the current situation and connect them with the right people to start changing perception. Your role on the board is multifaceted, and that one right now I think is really important.
Well, I'd just like to say, in my experience in years of working with various hospitals and foundations, that you should be very proud of what this first one was able to accomplish. To be able to have the turnout, to have the activities that were surrounding the gala, and to even show, a profit, if you want to say, in the first year, is very commendable, because a lot of these foundations, when you're reigniting them, it takes years to get to where you all have been able to do in the first year. So, building upon what you have been able to put the foundation on here, I think will be a tremendous benefit to the hospital, to the community, to the patients as you move forward. So you all need to be very proud and thankful for what you've been able to accomplish in this first year of doing this.
The food was great too. I like the way too that they made it where you could eat it. You didn't have to cut up something real big and get it all over you. That was real smart.
We were thinking about our guests there.
That was good planning right there.
Well, thank you. And if you have any more specific questions about the gala, I'm more than happy to share. I hope you all have gone online and clicked the link to get the library of photos. It was obvious people who were in attendance had a really good time. Myself, my committee, my family that came in from out of town, all exhausted and slept for 24 hours afterwards, but it was well worth it.
You might be the most organized person I've ever seen in my life. You did a great
Too bad you
job
never
with
know
that.
it. Well,
That
thank you,
was a
thank you
great
so much.
job.
Yeah, I confirmed yesterday with John Solomon that almost immediately following the chef sampler, the armory's being shut down for renovations, very important renovations. Those of you who were on the inside planning of this event or have done anything at the armory, you probably could rattle off the list of those improvements that are needed. The contractors have now suggested it could take a full year, which means even if they got it done on time, that's after. So I've already started conversations with some folks who have been in the community a long time to identify some potential properties. I would submit if anyone has any thoughts and wants to share those with me, it'd be great. As you know, I'm only been in town for about 3 years now, so I don't have the depth of awareness of all the venues. Do you have some ideas, Dolores? Maybe we'll talk about? No. Okay. Venue. Yeah. 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 Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. Thank you. The last thing I wanted to highlight on here, in August, you may all be aware or recall that there was a tragedy in town. The foundation moved quickly to procure 2 AEDs. Subsequently, we submitted a grant. The grant came through to cover about 50% of another bolus of AEDs. Since that time, I've been working with a private donor who has most recently made a donation of nearly $10,000. So we will be adding another 5 AEDs, this time across Franklin County. I know Bill touched on it last time. So we're going to reconfirm where they're going to go, but they're not all going to be here in Appalachia. 2 will go to the police department here, 1 to the Carabel Police Department, and then working with Randall and his team will identify the others. That same private donor, who really wants to remain anonymous, is interested in becoming more active in the foundation and also making future donations. So
Wonderful.
again, all points to the goodwill around the hospital and the important work that we do this year. Okay?
On those AEDs, have you all considered what you're going to do for maintenance on those AEDs? Because the reason I bring it up is Alligator Point came along and bought 4 or 5 of them and put them in various locations. A year went by, and the next thing you know, these things have to be updated constantly and checked constantly, and it got into big money as far as they were concerned. And now I see a liability on that side. Has that liability been covered by any
So
funds?
I'll answer it in this way. First of all, I'm working with some experts, and we've selected models that are for specifically the type of use that we're replacing them for the layperson use. We are putting them in security cabinets where they're not going to be in mobile cars. As far as maintenance goes, that's a point that I'll have to follow up on. Right? Yeah, too
I
much.
suggest you do that.
No, of
because it
course,
can be very
of course.
costly.
So the ones that we put out, the first 2 are Philips models. Those are not the same as what we've been putting out in the community prior to this event. However, I have recommended the CR2 Life Pack or physio control ones be put in place, and that way that they can be covered under our contract with the servicing them, so that we can go around and with Wi-Fi connect, get a status of that machine, and move on. And I have spoke with Colleen about there will have to be some kind of money put towards that budget, because for 10 of them it was like $10,000 a year. So the more we increase, the more increases on that bill's going to be.
Right.
So yeah.
But you're going to get a maintenance schedule and keep up with that, then, right?
Yeah, we could. EMS could help out with that.
Okay.
So in other words, you all have already considered all that.
Yes. Of course.
Yeah, because
Yes.
that was a big concern of mine whenever we were starting this process, is that who's going to keep up with that?
Right.
Because it's going to be a liability. If anything has to do with the hospital or EMS, if it was just the donor putting those out in certain places or certain private businesses,
Right.
that would reflect on them,
Right.
or fall on them.
Right.
However, with us doing that, it falls on us to keep that service up. Because
you have more of a liability if you have them and don't keep them
Yes.
in working
right.
order than if you don't have them. That's just the way that
And of the
works.
first two that were placed,
Good.
one is with a private business, so we've had that conversation with them.
Good,
The
good.
other one's in the post office.
Okay, great.
Randall's been an excellent partner. I will miss him.
And I just want to just add about the gala. I hadn't said anything, but it was very well attended. The good feedback I'm getting wherever I go. I was at a meeting on the island, and somebody said, "Hey, I was at the gala." You know, it was very well, and I had not met these individuals, so it had given me a time to meet a whole lot of different other people as well. And so some people are looking forward to next year. It's very first one, very organized. Did a great job. It's almost like when you're doing a wedding, the person that's creating the wedding, you can see the flaws, but the people that attend can't see anything. But anyway, great job, Bill. Thank you for your 2% you did. Appreciate it. No, I'm only joking, but it was great. I mean, great. The whole team, the volunteers. Yeah, for the volunteer team. I mean, it was a great volunteer team. And everybody just rolled the sleeves up, got the job done. The cutlery board was a big hit. So we had a lot of different things at the facility. So it was great. So thank you all. We really
Thank you.
appreciate where we're going.
And I think we left them wanting more because there was a number of people that didn't jump on the tickets when they were available and they wanted to get in and were shut out. So I think we, as they say in showbiz, leave them wanting more. We left them wanting more.
So thank you, everyone. If you have any questions, where to find.
Thank you again. Wonderful. Okay, the next item is Dr. Conrad, Western South Report.
Good morning, all. First, I'm woefully unprepared, and I apologize. I meant to wear my Gator sweatshirt in today in honor of Duffy, and sorry about that, buddy. I forgot. But
Y'all had a 6-5 season. You're just
7-5 now.
poking that chest out. And
Yeah,
everything.
I'll take it. Exactly. Things have been humming along pretty well in the ER. Our comments from particularly locals, and we've got the onset of snowbird season about to hit. We've had really good feedback from people. They think we've been doing a good job, and we have been doing a good job. There was a case a couple months back, the specifics of which I'm not going to get into, but you can talk with Mr. Walker, Courtney, or myself. We'll be glad to get into it. There was a complaint raised to the level that was completely undue, unwarranted. We have reviewed all of the records to a fairly well, and our staff and our physician did an excellent job. The care that was provided was solid. The state's already dealt with it, but just so you know, the job is getting done. EMS deserves a shout out. They have really continued to improve their game, and kudos to Randall and his bunch. They have been efficient. They've been providing good care when they show up here and in transport, and I think their challenges have been a little bit more lately. They've had to do a lot of runs, so they deserve a lot of praise. We're looking forward to the new CT. Won't steal Mr. Walker's thunder, but we're looking forward to that. The last thing, as far as nursing and staff, we've had amongst our nurses particularly, and also some of the other staff, we've had some challenges lately, family illnesses, logistical problems, what have you. And I think across the board, Courtney's bunch has jumped into the breach, stepped up, and kind of extended themselves whenever they needed to. It has been more of a team effort than usual around here, which is saying something. So you run into any of the nurses and staff, give them a pat on the back, because everybody has stepped up in a busy time of year. Any questions?
I'd like to add one thing. I think when you're talking to your staff and training and stuff, the doctors need to realize how important they are to the patient. They are the most important person in the world. If they'll realize, and they downplay themselves sometimes. They don't need to downplay themselves. They need to think, yeah, I'm number one. And remember that patient, when they go back here, wherever, how important that person thinks the doctor is. You understand what I'm talking about?
Yep.
I mean, that's it, and I fell, got a knot on my head and stitches. Well, you were real important, that's all to me. Yeah, really,
Yeah.
I mean, and it was good to see you, talk to me, but the doctors need to understand their role is like sitting at the foot of the throne. And they need to understand how important they are to the patient. And if they'll just keep that in the back of their mind. Not saying they don't, but they tend to underplay.
Yeah, fair enough.
They
Yeah.
tend to underplay what people might think of. And they put them on a pedestal. A doctor, you put that doctor's name by them, you're it. And the nursing is a complimentary to the doctor. The nursing, but that doctor is the most important thing in the world, and they need to understand how important they are. So just let them, every staff meetings or whatever, that they're very important. I mean, if you go in the hospital, you don't see a doctor.
Yeah.
When's the doctor gonna make his round? If you have a little simple surgery or whatever, you're not asking when's the dietitian gonna come by and talk to me. I mean, that's
Right.
it. That's it. You see nurses every day. I'm not downplaying nurses either.
Yeah.
Because they're out there just over and over doing a good job. So just keep that. Am I getting through? Is that?
Yeah.
Good?
No, I agree with you.
Okay. That's my spiel on that. But I think we keep that in the back of our mind. It's real important. Okay. I said we're going to speed this up a little bit. We got a lot to cover. Okay, Ms. Alford, clinical services.
Good morning. I just have a few brief things, and then we'll talk about the CT. I just wanted to, I know education is important, and Duffy and you, Bill, always stress that. We do have a class for staff again next week, so we're going to continue to do that, BLS, ACLS, and PALS. So anyway, I just want to let you know we're continuing, as we always do, with the trainings.
What's your upcoming class?
It's for BLS, ACLS, and PALS, so it's life support for pediatric and adults. And so also I wanted to say we're continuing our efforts with hospice. We have a hospice patient coming in for our hospice room today, so we're thankful to be able to do that, work with the physicians that accept that, and Big Ben Hospice there. And then you guys all, I believe, received an email from Heather with the agenda today with our holiday event. So I just wanted to invite you, if you want to come out for any of our holiday events. We've got something planned for each week, so we'd love to have you. Other than that, we just have the CT update.
And I just want to just mention about the hospice room. It's very important because we had a family member in our community, that had somebody in Bay County, and they would have had to be in Bay County, but we opened this room up here. The family could come here, so great job. I have, as part of the agenda item, we have 2 or 3 action items for you all, and Melody is passing paper out to you. And directly in front of your books, you have 3 different proposals. So you all can take a look at that as well.
Courtney, have you got anything else?
Yeah, Courtney with us. Introduce Brian also, Courtney.
This is Brian. He's our radiology manager.
In case some people don't know.
And he's been gathering a lot of this information for us and his team. So we can
All right.
CT and
Yeah. All right. So the books in front of you, the first one, we have 3 quotes. We have one machine is a GE machine, one is a Philips, and one is another GE machine. So let me just give you a quick background while you're looking through the material. The Florida Department of Health Rural Hospital Capital Improvement Grant Program, we received funding to purchase a new CT machine, as well as renovate a room inside the hospital, which is my current office. Many of you know the current CT room is located outside in a trailer. This will be a milestone for the hospital to be able to bring the CT machine back. I don't know if it was ever in the hospital, but to bring it in the hospital. The grant funding amount to purchase the machine is approximately $399,000, and the grant funding amount to renovate the office location is approximately $366,000. The new machine will be upgraded from a 16-slice machine to a 128-slice. So the machine that we have out there now is what they call a 16-slice machine. And the one that we're getting will move us all the way up to a 128, which is standard, almost like a Cadillac, of a machine. I'm sure the staff will be a great appreciative of that. This grant opportunity was an effort by rural hospitals throughout the state of Florida, Florida Hospital Association, Representative Jason Schultz, Senator Corey Simon, Governor Ron DeSantis approve and designate the funding as recurring funding for the rural hospitals in Florida. And so, most of your rural hospital CEOs are part of the rural hospital committee with FHA, Florida Hospital Association, and we do a lot of advocacy work with our legislatures, let them know what we need here. This particular program was a program that was designated years ago on the books of Florida Department of Health, but had no funds for it. And so we advocated with the governor's office and with the state legislature to put some funds into this program. And what it would do, it would help, solidify needs of rural hospitals, capital improvement projects. So we have 3 quotes for the CT machine, 2 quotes for the renovation, and 3 quotes for the service agreement. Once we make a recommendation on which vendor to use to purchase the machine, we will have Attorney Schuler review the agreements before requesting spending approval from the county commission. Once again, the first quote we have was GE. GE machine cost $445,000, $195, and then the CT renovation cost would be $366,000, and then the service agreement for that machine would be $72,000, $73,000. After the first year, it's a 5-year warranty. So whoever we go with, we've told them we need a turnkey approach, meaning that if we purchase the machine from you, you need to be able to do the renovations, coordinate that, put that inside the facility. The Philips machine is $488,000, $261, and the room renovation is, but I probably got my numbers mixed up on that one because the room renovation was a little cheaper than that. I think I made some errors on that, but it's in the quote. We'll fix that quote. The room renovation is a little cheaper than the 557, but it's in the quote here. I think I added something with that. And then the service agreement for GE will be $63,000. The last one we have is we'll call RTI. It's a vendor. They're selling a CT machine, and it's $350,000, and they include with all the optional items. We don't have the renovation cost yet. The RTI service agreement is $77,000 per year, but this machine is a 5-year-old machine. So refurbished, yeah. It's a refurbished machine. You really don't want to go that route. My recommendation, the staff have really used GE products here, so my recommendation will go with the GE product here, and coordinating staff speak to that. I know Dr. Conrad would be very happy to get us a new CT machine. Dr. Conrad, you got anything you want to say?
A medical comment on this. We were very excited to get a new scanner. We were talking about more precision. We're talking about better images. We're talking about being able to make a better, more timely diagnosis. That's all to the good. I'm looking at the cost for service agreements, and I'm the guy that when I go to Best Buy and buy a microwave, I don't buy the extra protection plan for the next 3 years because I always feel like that's a ripoff. That being said, it's late Saturday night, summertime. We've got a bunch of thunderstorms come through, the power surges, all of a sudden something goes out in the CAT scanner, and this has happened more times than we can even remember. All of a sudden the CAT scanner isn't working. Say we're on CT diversion. That means if somebody passes out at home, hits their head, is in a bad car wreck, a real trauma case, all these kind of things, if at all possible, don't bring them here because we cannot adequately diagnose them in a timely way. So it's a big deal. So I am very on board with having a reliable service contract, but I've got to defer to people, Brian, looking at you, people smarter on this. What are the appropriate service contract costs so that we're not just padding the wallet of one of these companies? We've got to have timely service support so that we have minimal time down with CT, but I don't want us getting ripped off either.
For the two companies, GE and Philips, on their quotes, it's 8 to 5, Monday through Friday, and on the weekends, it's a bill of offense. For RTI, they're quoting us a 2-year warranty on their machine and being available to us 24/7, 365 with a 3-hour availability in the building.
I'm sorry, that's the Phillips you said?
No,
No,
that's RTI.
Yeah,
That's the refurbished.
that's
one.
refurbished, right.
So what happens on the weekend when you have a problem?
I have to call their company, either Philips or GE, and try to have one of the techs come down here, which could be a delay in service.
You're gonna be billed for that separately.
Right.
And have you figured out what the hourly cost and what the?
No, sir, I have not gone in to find
And
out.
I have another question. The other question is, have we done Duke Power coming into the hospital? Is there a buffer or a suppression system or one that will kill those spikes? Like my house. My house, I pay an extra amount of money for the spikes coming in and so forth, which causes the electronics to go out.
All three of those quotes, they're adding on something to stop that, okay? And that we will have a backup battery. So like if I'm in the middle of a scan, we have a power surge, okay? This will be able to continue the scan, store the images so I can get them sent out to be read.
So that issue goes away?
That issue goes away. Yes, sir.
The other thing
That's all I wanted to know.
the other thing that occurs to me, Mr. Kozar, with all of the hospitals you've worked with over the years, you probably have some additional insight as to what we should expect to pay for service contracts or what would be excessive.
Well, and again, it's pretty standard practice on equipment like this to engage the service contract on it, because of the protection that you have. You know, you got a tube that goes out. Most of your service contracts will cover that tube. I haven't studied this service contract to know all the ins and outs of it, but a tube for a CT scanner can be tremendously expensive, and to have that covered. But to Mr. Berry's question, all these machines now come with what they call surge protection aspects on it. So you're not going to totally be able to prevent, a huge spike that would come through. But most of these, on those minor fluctuations, will have that protection that comes through there so that you're not constantly going down because, there was a spike in the output. So the battery backup is very important because, again, you lose power to be able to send these images to keep functioning as you move forward on that. So, it's standard. It really, I would not recommending buying a piece of equipment of this nature without a service agreement.
Now, the GE, that service contract there, the service contract, does that include weekends or not? One of them include a weekend?
Yeah. Well, let me just go back.
I don't understand having a service contract and they won't come work it
No,
on
they
the weekend.
they will.
That ain't worth a damn.
No.
I mean, I really don't like it.
Yeah, but they will come work on the weekend. I think just like we have the mammography program. Machine there. If something goes down, now we hadn't had anything that went down yet, but GE, we expect GE to be here. Same thing with these other vendors. We expect them to be here if something happens to our equipment. So it's not that you get a service contract and they're not coming. We hadn't had an issue with any of our people that's not coming here, and so they will come.
What does it cost us now? I mean, do we have any service contract?
Oh yeah, we have a service contract on that. Yeah, it's a little cheaper because this machine is more older machine.
Okay,
So
I
it's a little cheaper. But it's interesting because Philips monthly yearly cost in GE for the new machine, yearly cost is probably $10,000 difference. But then RTI, their yearly cost is a little bit more, with the refurbished machine is a little bit more per year. It's refurbished, yeah. And so these machines really came up in the same, about the same ballpark figure.
Let's not even talk about refurbishment.
Yeah.
I don't want to do refurbishment.
Craig, do you know if Duke has suppression on coming into the hospital?
I don't, but I made a note to call them and find out about it.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
The other point was, go ahead.
And let me just add, go back to Phillips. I had to do my calculations right. Phillips equipment costs, including optional items, would be $557,000. And then the renovation for the room here would come up to $469,000. Yeah.
Now, what's being covered on grant?
Okay, $400,000 is being covered on grant. So the grant money covers $399,000 plus. Now, if we go with the CT with the newer machine, with GE, we'll have to pay maybe $45,000 out of pocket, for the optional stuff. But the grant will cover that machine there.
A question, is this piece of equipment, are we going to use that if a decision is made to have just an ED department?
Yes.
Well, let me add to that. It's not just ED.
It's
Frequently,
outpatient.
we will have, frequently we'll have inpatients. And a nurse will come to me and say, such and such developed new shortness of breath, and they've got these risk factors. Maybe we need to scan them to look for a pulmonary embolus. So this is for inpatient as well.
Yeah.
We absolutely need to get a better machine. I'm just asking about, is there a way to optimize our end of it on service contracts? Is any of that negotiable? But we need the machine.
Yeah, but that's not only that, even the outpatient part. We got people coming in, providers refer in for CTs as well. So even if they build a new ED here, you can take that machine and you can move it. Yeah.
Yeah. And on that same note, you really can't run an emergency room today without a CT scanner.
Exactly.
Exactly. So this piece of equipment, whether the hospital stays as it currently is, if it goes to an ED, you can't run an emergency room without one these days.
Yeah. Here you go. Here you go.
I got it.
From a, Mr. Kozar, from a alliance standpoint, is this reasonable cost?
Yes. Yes. I think you're getting a very good deal on the GE with the service agreement. Looking at the pricing of that right now, I think you got some very good pricing as far as that's concerned on the new piece of equipment. Again, going into this and being able to have the grant money funded, I would not even consider looking at a refurbished piece of equipment right now. And again, I have not reviewed the contract, but typically, it's covered under 1-year warranty too before even your service contract kicks in. So you have that protection also.
Well, the thing I wanted to talk to you about, if we do wind up improving the ER and doing the renovations that we're talking, adding a building, whatever, we'd have to re-spend that room renovation cost, I would guess. Because we'd renovate the room here, and then if we built out another room, we'd have to renovate that room, correct?
Yeah.
So there's additional cost that is going to go with it if you're going to wind up moving it to another room, right?
Yeah, for the new building.
Right.
Yeah.
So that money's going to have to be re-spent.
Well, it would be included in the overall building that you're doing. So, I mean, it's not like you have to go out and spend specifically for that there. So if you're building a new emergency room, that will be included in that construction. And I'm going to use Calhoun Liberty and Bluntstown as an example. They're building a new hospital. They'll be going into it in April, May of next year. They're relocating their equipment to the new facility. So this equipment can be relocated.
Right. And then the other thing to look at, and I think you're right, we have to take a closer look at the service agreements and exactly what that's going to provide us. And, just a quick assessment, GE is going to do a 5-year agreement where Phillips is going to do an 8-year agreement. So, they're not apples to apples agreements. And I think we have to take a real close look at what we're being offered there as far as those agreements are concerned.
Yeah. And I think, with GE, you want to say something, David? I think, with all the service agreements, it'll be standard, standard practice. And we had Jessica Gendry, she's the purchasing rep for us. We have her take another look at it. Also, once we figure out which one we want to go with, then we'll have Michael Kozar and David Bowling, review it again, and then we'll send it over to Attorney Schuler as well. But this has been a long time coming. I met a patient here, Seafood Festival weekend, and one of the radiologist techs was rolling out. She was explaining that we got to go outside, for this. And then when they came back in, she was like, well, they've been saying they're going to get a CT machine for years inside the building, So I told her, and I just happened to walk in the room just to say hello to her. And she said, well, Mr. Walker, when you get that machine here, you call me back. I want to do the ribbon cutting because it's been a long, long, long time that the promises have been made about bringing this machine inside. But anyway, things like that will help out. It'll help out for better patient care. When it's cold outside,
Yeah, we gotta have it. We gotta
walking
have it.
out there.
You ever had to go back there? It's like
It's just,
going in a death trap
it's just
right
not
there.
feasible. So this is going to be good. And one of the good thing about it also, this machine can also be moved to a new facility. That's the key. And then it's grant money. It's grant money that we've been pushing for. And the reason why we want to get this begin rolling, because I'm going to see Senator Simon and Jason Schoaf again, and I want to be able to tell them that, look here, this is what we're doing. The money that you all gave us in Franklin County, we're making the use to treat our patients with this to bring us up to speed.
Why in the world is it such a big
What is the 16 slice versus?
Okay, go ahead.
Slice. Okay, we had a question, what's a slice? It's very simple. When you're in the CAT scanner and we're looking at your head, your belly, whatever it is, just think of it as an x-ray shot. You get a chest x-ray, it's a shot this way. But a slice is shot, 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 slice, 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 all the way down. So the higher the slice number, the closer they are together, the more precise it is.
And really, 128 is
Standard.
and I mean, they make bigger ones. They make 360 and above, but for most hospitals of our size and most community hospitals, the 128 slice is what we need to be doing. We're not doing, very experimental type studies and things that you would require that. But a 16 slice, really is not the standard of care anymore.
Right.
Why in the world is such a big difference in the renovation cost between Phillips and GE? My goodness.
Well, a lot of that depends upon, and I've learned this through experience, is, the base of where that machine is going to sit on and how much weight and the flooring and those components that go into it. Because each machine has different requirements as far as, because, putting a CT in on this floor right here, it probably would not hold that equipment, so you're going to have to build up based upon the machine, and that's why there's different requirements for each machine as far as the room size, what the pad that it has to sit on, how thick that concrete has to be underneath it. All those factors go into it.
Like a boiler, you got to put a boiler in
You have to also lead wall, the walls.
lead wall. Okay, I
They have
didn't
to be
realize that.
protected for everybody where the machine is. And that's costly on that end of the deal too.
David, what are you asking the board?
So what I'm looking for, just an approval to purchase the machine pending Attorney Schuler's review of the agreement, and then we take it to the county
Which
commission.
one?
The GE machine. Approval to
So
purchase.
you're recommending GE?
Yeah, recommended the GE machine, the new one, and pending approval for from Attorney Schuler. And then the county commission.
It'll go for the board, right?
Yeah, because the county commission has to approve it because it's over that threshold.
Okay. Do I have a, go ahead, go, we're not through yet.
Yeah, one second. Where's the grant?
Can you, excuse me, Mr. Chairman, but I have one more question. Do you have you asked them for any type of, historical records as far as this piece of equipment's concerned from GE? What type of issues they've had throughout the country, wherever they've sold this? Have we got any
No,
type
sir.
of historical record that shows us what problems they might have?
No, sir.
Have we talked to anybody that has a GE machine like this? You know, I mean, out of your hospitals, does anybody have this GE machine?
Oh, yeah.
So we
They
can,
do.
so we can talk to somebody who's had experience with
You've had
this
Well,
machine, right?
and again, our purchasing group, Jessica, she knows every hospital that Alliant Purchasing is in and what the, you know, if there's what repairs were done, well, how the maintenance was done.
Right.
So she'll be able to determine, you know, and again, I don't know if you've had her look at this already. She's looked at this already, so she's been able to determine that. And again, I think you all have other GE equipment here. So I think your mammography is GE too. So that helps in the fact that you have more than one piece of equipment through GE on there, because it's like if you buy a car and you have two cars at a car dealership, they're going to treat you a little bit better than if you have one. But yeah, Jessica has been able to review this and determine all the hospitals. So if there's ever any issues, we also have Alliant Purchasing that can step in and help us.
Have we communicated with her? I mean,
Yes.
are you assuming, or do you
No,
know for a
no,
fact?
no.
David.
I know, I've communicated with Jessica. You know, anytime we get a price like this magnitude, we send it to her to make sure, hey, you know, look at the agreements, look at the pricing scope to make sure that our price is in line with what we're contracted for. And I'll reach out to her again just to double check with her about other facilities that have a specific machine here. But she normally reviews the agreements.
She works for Alliant?
Alliant Purchasing Group, yeah. And we do that because sometimes, you know, a company may quote us $50, but our GPO guarantee, guaranteed purchasing price, may be $25. But if you don't know that, they'll charge you the $50. And so I have her go back and say, hey, Jessica, look at these lines and make sure that we're being paid appropriate. These are just some of the things that people do.
One last question. Do we have favored nation pricing?
Yes.
Here, you know, Florida has a law to that effect, if I'm not mistaken, favored nation pricing. So therefore, we have to be at or equal to the lowest price in the nation for this piece of equipment.
And again, I would say, without having spoken with Jessica, that's part of their job to make sure. And, you know, the other thing that David that made me think about this, by going through Jessica, she's able to look at how many other hospitals in the Alliant purchasing system are buying GE CT scanners next year. And what is the best price we can do on a package deal? Say, look, we're going to buy 10 CT scanners from you. What is the best price you can give us?
And that's the advantages of buying through Alliant Purchasing. Why? Because they got how many? Got about hundreds. And so now you're not on that. Years ago when we first got here, we were like on a one-tier system. And so when GE look at us, they're like, oh, y'all, you know, you ain't got no purchasing power. And so the price is higher. But when you became part of a bigger pool, it's almost like insurance and all that kind of stuff. So I just need a motion for that. A motion to purchase pending Attorney Schuler review and to bring it to the county commission because we need spending authority.
Right, and I'm assuming we're getting the grant through the state, but the difference between the grant and our costs are going to be held by the county, right?
Yeah, that's
The
40.
BOCC has
Yeah.
approved that money's coming out.
Yeah, right around 45,000.
Yeah, right, that money's coming out of their pocket.
Okay.
Not our operating expense.
No. Well, we found out also. Well, we'll talk about it later.
Well, I just want to, I want
Okay.
to make sure that that's where the money's coming from,
Yeah.
the balance of the money's coming
Yeah.
from, right?
Yeah.
Okay, any other discussion?
I'll make a motion that we move forward with this pending.
Already made it.
Oh, you made it?
Already made it, okay.
I'll second it then.
It would be pending Mr. Schuler and
Yeah,
stuff like
review,
that.
right.
One thing I'd like to say, I'm glad we're not dragging our feet around on this. If we need it, we got to get it. And every day we don't do something, then we're putting our customers' welfare at risk. So, okay, any other discussion? All in favor? All opposed? Pass.
While Courtney is up there and Brian, I have something on my agenda item, about the ultrasound equipment. Just pass it out. It's, so we, Attorney Schuler reviewed the ultrasound equipment language, but also it was noted that, we didn't have the service agreement that go beyond that year. Mr. Berry, thank you for that, looking out on that. So what GE did for the service agreement, they sent a separate agreement for service for the ultrasound machine. So a separate agreement. Attorney Schuler has reviewed it. He had a couple of more comments he may want GE to add to it. And so it'd be $10,000 per year for the service agreement for the ultrasound. But we can go ahead, now the purchase of the ultrasound has been approved, and so just let you know, after that first year, we need the service agreement. That's where they come in. So I just wanted to just bring that up for your conversation. Yeah. So we'll make sure we update them when I go before them with the GE. All right, that's all. Thank y'all. Appreciate it.
Thank y'all.
And I told Brian that his department really has gotten the Mercedes-Benz of the hospital. I mean, they got a new radiology machine, they got a new mammography machine. Now they're getting this ultrasound and the CT. So all set. So we
Who
really.
do you know? Who do you know?
All right, the next item we have is EMS report.
Good morning, everyone. As you are aware that I resigned as of November 29th. However, I decided to come down here and introduce my continuation and a person that I think will lead this department in the way that we've already built the foundation upon and continue to move forward. And that would be Mr. James Osteen here behind me. He's worked with me for the last 15 years, 16 years, something like that. He's been here full-time with Weems in Franklin EMS for the last 6 years as well. He's got a good foundation on him and is just going to build on what we've already established here. And I just want to thank everybody that I've had the opportunity to work with and know and learn from. It's been a great time, great learning experience, and I hope the best for everyone here and Franklin County EMS to progress and move forward.
Well, good luck. What you do, and I'll
Yeah.
tell you, I was going to ask, but by you being here and not working for us anymore, you're proving that you're going to assist if we need to. I guess you're only a telephone call away.
I've already had a couple from him already.
I believe it. I'm a believer in that. It never did me. I never was shy about asking somebody. So thank you for that.
Yeah. And one thing about it, he's here now.
That's what I'm talking about.
He just started
here
work. Now what? Randall has been he was with us for a while as well, and James has been with us as well. So James has been like the number 2 guy with Randall behind the scenes. But this may be the first time that we have an EMS director that live in Franklin County.
There we go.
And James, I was about to say I could throw a football to hit his house from the hospital here. He lives right around the corner.
That might be pushing it a little bit.
Maybe you're pushing my arm may not be as strong enough.
Now, you live in Wakulla County?
Yes, sir, I do.
Yeah.
Well, Franklin County people are 1.6% smarter than Wakulla
Yeah, that's
people.
all right.
I'm just letting you know, 1.6, okay?
That's
You
all
probably
right.
learned that, okay?
Yeah, but we're looking forward to James. Years ago when I came here, we wanted to take EMS to another level, Lou and I. And one of the things was being more active in the community. Really more active in the community, and not only different sides, but all the way from Alligator Point all the way to the other end here. So we are very thankful. I know James got community services as part of his heart here as well. So we're just looking for some great things for our EMS department. James, you want to greet the board?
Good morning.
Good morning.
That's James Osteen. A little background on me. I've been a paramedic I've been in the EMS system for 31 years, 32 years now. Started straight out of high school. been with I was with Keller Fire Rescue for 12 years as a firefighter, or as a paramedic, not a firefighter, sorry. And I was the interim captain there for about 6 months. I got a call from our former EMS director, Louis Lewis, hey, come work for us. Come in as the captain. So I did. I left there in 2019. Here I am as the captain for the last 5.5, almost 6 years. Been pretty much backup for Louis and Randall, as a captain. That's where we stand now. I do look forward to doing some more community outreach, participating in furthering our community outreach. I'd like to get our community paramedicine program back up to par, get it back rolling, and start getting some more clients, if you will. Everybody loved it. All the patients we had before in the program really enjoyed it, but some of them did take advantage of it. Some of the patients, that keeps them from not having to come to the doctor, which they need to come to the doctor's offices and the clinics every now and again, just get eyes on, So hopefully I can go ahead and get that key back up. I don't know what it's going to cost to get it going back again. As Mr. Duffy was saying earlier, my hand out. Yes, sir.
We got to be the best. We got to be the best.
In the next month, or it might be February, before I get with y'all, but I am going to put in a proposal, or a quote, if you will, for a couple more new ambulances. If we were to put them in right now, today, it would be an 18-month turnaround.
We're in a good situation with that. Let's don't fall behind. Okay, let's keep that going.
We're getting good maintenance, so we've got our captain that's taking over the maintenance. I was doing the maintenance. He's taking over the maintenance, so I'm helping him continue that. Keeping the PMs done on the trucks, keeping them in good shape. We don't want to fall behind on all that. We have very good equipment. We have very good stuff on the trucks. The machines, the equipment we have on board the ambulances are fantastic. Hopefully, we will get I haven't heard anything yet on I guess Randall probably came with you a month or so ago about the ultrasounds. I'm still waiting to hear from the county on that. See if it's been approved or not. So it wasn't good. Okay. So those were approved. So it's just now we just got to get them ordered. And once we get those, we'll have the ultrasounds on all the ambulances. Yeah, hold on.
One thing too, looking forward, y'all were talking about service contracts. With the LifePack monitor systems that we have on the units, they've updated, Physio Controls updated to a LifePack 35, which is state-of-the-art touch screen. Anyhow, every LifePack that's older than 8 years old, you will not be able to have a service contract on. So that's something that we're going to have to start looking at to phase out and move forward into these machines. And when you see the price tag, or I'll go ahead and break it there, it's about $80,000 for one machine. Yeah. So, however, these are life-saving equipment. They're very
Total necessity, right? Let's don't drag around and
right. So we need to start looking at phasing our older ones out, moving into the newer ones, because the service contracts that we have will not cover after 8 years, according to the.
We got to move with it then.
So
got to move.
That is something we'll have to be looking at too, as far as moving forward. And for instance, to play off of the not wanting to get that service contract, I'll tell you, just here recently with our striker auto loads in the back of the truck that stretchers lift up and save everyone's back, we didn't have a service contract, and it cost us probably about $2,000 more than it should have. Just for example. So just take that in mind when you're thinking about a service contract. They do have their ways of helping, because like I said, it was like $2,000 we could have saved. Sorry about that. But anyhow, I'll let James take it back. I just wanted to mention that to you.
I got a question for both y'all up there. Do we have interlocal agreements with Wakulla County and surrounding counties, if we had a catastrophic event.
Yes, sir, we do have MOUs in place.
Yeah,
For
MOUs.
mutual aid assistance.
Yeah.
So yes, we do have those in place with Gulf and McCullough. And we do assist Liberty County from time to time as well.
Okay, does that cut through the red tape if we didn't really, if you had a catastrophic event out at Alligator Point, possibly, or we got one place that could happen is the correctional institution.
Mm-hmm.
Can one phone call get people going?
We can get, yeah, if the event happens, then it's basically you call it through 911 or through the dispatch, and they call us for the mutual aid. We have to request it through that way. It's just not pick up the phone and say, hey, send me a unit, but it has to be requested of that, yes, sir. And there is a common agreement between the two. We don't have, I don't think we actually have an MOU in writing, but it is that we can call upon them at this time.
I sure like MOU in writing. I mean, I like that.
And that's something we can look at too.
And another thing too, people need to be trained on it, on MOU.
And right now, I mean, all the captains that are in place now know that if they need assistance,
I know that.
with the units,
I know that, but I sure like the written MOUs on stuff like that. Just think about that, okay?
Yes, sir. I'll get one of those up in order for you. Also, when you was talking about the Life Act 15s being phased out, I'll know more on next Thursday. Have the striker tech that will be here doing service, doing PMs on them. And I'll ask her more on that, how old our stuff is. She'll be able to tell us how old our monitors are. When we need to start phasing into the Life Act 35 portions of it. Okay. Any other questions?
What is our overall staffing?
Our overall staffing, we are fairly decently staffed at this moment. We do have a few open positions, and those are being covered by our full-time personnel. We've only got one or two part-timers right now. Everybody that's been part-time has been hired into the full-time role. So it's decent. I mean, we do have a couple openings, but for the most part, we're covering it with the overtime. You know, much as we hate to spend the overtime budget, it's that or down the truck, which we don't really want to do, if at all possible. So, to answer your question, anyways, it's decent. It's a lot better than it was, but it could be better.
So, Randall.
Yes, ma'am.
How long have you been here?
I started here in 2015 as a part-time medic, and then full-time in 2019.
And you lived in Wakulla County all that time?
Yes, ma'am.
So you've been commuting all those years? Really good community.
You look about 10 years younger without the beard too. I just
man.
let you know.
That's why I always kept the beard on. I had to take my hat off so you can see the gray hairs and I can feel my age.
Now, there was a question about, we were talking to EMS about their billable runs, and that may come up later when David does his report. You know, the billable runs and unbillable. The billable runs been down a little bit, but the transports, transfers have still been kind of even, right?
Yes, sir. Billable runs are either they're staying. Our billable runs are down this year compared to previous years. However, the transport percentage is still on par as for the last 5 years. I mean, it might be a 1 or 2% difference from in those 5 years, but there's no drastic one way or the other. It's pretty much been staying in this 60% percentile all the way across the board.
So if it's not a billable run, what is it?
If it's not a billable, it's a refusal. If we get there and check them out, they don't want to go to the hospital. We don't bill for the refusals because they don't go.
Showed up,
Yes, sir.
and for you going over there, there's no compensation.
No, sir. No, sir.
It's kind of a, Mr. Berry, it's kind of a public service that we have been providing. We have looked at alternative measures to combat that. For mostly your repeat offenders, like they call multiple times and want just to be checked out and sent on the way. Like don't want to go, even if we recommend them just to come to Weems, be seen by a physician, they still don't want to go. So those are being looked at as potential maybe setting a fee for. However, it's going to have to be gingerly presented because we do not want to bill people that are expecting a public service from their tax dollars as well, and being like the person that falls down once every blue moon. We don't want to bill them. That's a public service.
Do you have any statistics on the age group and the number of calls that this individual's made?
Yes, sir. I've done age group also. Broke down age groups for the last 5 years, off of the years, and
We'll be
all day on that. But the age groups that were really, it really, the 50 to 60, 60 to 70, 70 to 80 years of age is our higher percentiles.
Sure it is.
And a lot of them are falls that they lost their balance, and you gotta get them upright.
It depends.
It's anything with the elderly. Strokes or just any kind of medical calls. It's not necessarily a refusal. These are just all in general age groups, all the calls, refusals and billable runs.
Because it may be also, you have an individual in the home, that, like my father-in-law, fall down. My mother-in-law is short. I'm not in town, so she can't get him up.
Right.
And so they call EMS to get him up, get him back, but he's not going anywhere. So sometimes that happens a lot.
And then
That's a good example. When that happens to the local fire.
yeah, that was what my next statement was going to be. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, they do, but most of them work. So they're not available all the time. So therefore, they're going to fall back on EMS companies. We should have someone available to them. And according to the 2020, or the last census was run, I think it was 2020, 65 and older is 27% of our population down here. So you're looking at a quarter of the population is greater than 65. And so that's going to be a lot of that call volume.
So we can just expect that.
Could be,
Every
yeah.
year.
And it also goes back to what you said about the volunteers. It also depends on where in the county you're at. If you're like Carabel per se, they don't respond to medical calls. Or if it's a fire, they'll go to it, but otherwise they really don't respond to any medical.
Having first responders.
They have them. They rather play with fire than with lives.
That's the reason they need contracts. They're giving them that money every quarter.
All right. Anything else?
Thank y'all.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Glad to have you on board, buddy.
Glad to be here.
Susie. My wife's name's Susie. It's easy to say. Don't you tell me something, I'll say okay.
Oh, had I only known. Good morning, everyone. This is just short and sweet. We are ongoing searching for a provider, as you all have been aware. We've reached out to somebody the other week before the holidays. He has interest in our group. He's going to be coming down in the next month or so to take a look at us. So hopefully that'll be something positive for us. And a couple other providers have reached out to us as well on different levels, LPNs, nurse practitioners. So we'll get a chance to look at those and how we can grow the clinics.
Susan, let me just add too. With the physician, after the new year, we'll set up a meeting. Then we'll be with Dr. Conrad as well, his young physician.
Right.
So Dr. Conrad can out with him as well. So we'll see where they go at. Although that particular position won't be available until July 2025, I believe.
Yeah, most of them have, a commitment already where they're at, and they would have to leave out.
They're under contract.
Yeah.
Sure.
Go ahead.
But we are searching very hard.
We are searching. We've had 2 staff members leave in the clinics in the last 2 months. So one of the roles is a front desk person. I'll be up at the Carabao Clinic covering that role until I get someone in that slot. But please still reach out to me if you have questions about the clinic, and encourage your family, friends, whatever, to call me if there's any questions about billing or about our services that we provide or can provide in the future. We're going to really look to see how we can go forward. And other than that, it is that lovely time of year for Medicare. If everybody has friends or family that needs to make sure that they sign up for their Medicare plans, we have a group in the area called Shine. They're volunteer service, and they can help you because I think the deadline's December 7th, but I'll leave the information here. And they go through every plan with you and at no cost to you to sit and talk with you about your options, your pharmacy options, your durable medical equipment options. A lot of these plans also, not just Medicare, but any of the Medicaid plans and the Advantage plans offer additional services to you. They'll give you $200 credit for you to apply towards your electric bill. A lot of them have transportation, things that patients really need to take a look at their own policies and be aware of. And then, of course, you want to make sure you've had your annual, right? Everybody get in for your annuals before the end of the year. It goes towards your deductible. Get your flu shots if you believe in flu shots or any of those vaccines. Ask your providers to write them for the Shingrix and pneumonia.
Annual physical.
An annual physical,
I
yeah.
was real
That's
healthy.
the most important.
I was
because-
real healthy till I got my annual physical. I just want you to know that. I
Yeah,
was
but-
real healthy till I got.
Yeah. Well, it makes you aware, right? And then
Yeah,
we
it
can
does.
prevent the things that are going to happen
Suzette
down
is
the
very
road.
thorough, too.
She's very, very thorough. Yeah, we love her. So, other than that, any questions for the clinics? No?
They're going real well. We have a really uptick in people going to the clinic.
Yeah, we do. And not just from a provider leaving, but, once they've come in the door, I hear a lot of positive feedback, and I'm very proud of that.
Yeah.
Anything else? No?
Thank you very much. All right, the next item is Mr. Gibson, plant operations.
Good morning. How's everyone this morning? Good. All right, I've got them brief and short. I know y'all got a long meeting to go ahead. Over at Weems East, we have got approval to replace the front flooring out there. As soon as that comes in, probably January, we'll get that taken care of. We have also received our money through a grant that David and I have been working on for the balance of the ER. All of that flooring, we're going to get that put in. That's probably going to be January, February as well.
What are you putting in?
It's going to be what they call LVP, luxury vinyl planks.
Yeah,
And the reason we're doing that, because it's going to be mainly in the hallways. It's a little bit sturdier, and if you spill something in there, blood, for example, vomit, we can heat that strip up and pull it up and replace it very
Bloodborne
simply.
passage, you can just take it out. Okay.
Yep, and just take it out. It's a lot easier. In the rooms, we put down the solid. That's easier to clean up, but out here, you're going to have a lot more heavier traffic, and it'll give us a little bit longer longevity for it. The telephones, I talked to IT day before yesterday. We're looking at roughly about 2 weeks. We're waiting on Consolidated to add one more thing they've got to do on their side, and our new phones will go live.
Hallelujah, they need that bad.
I know, we do. They're all fussing about it, but it will connect all of us together. East, west, here. It's going to be a 4-digit extension, and we can just pick up the phone and call. So it's going to be really good.
Susie, hold him in 2 weeks now.
I know.
Hold him 2 weeks. Twist it on.
While they're doing the phones also, we're also upgrading the paging system because that's tied into the phone system as well. So we're going to be upgrading that also. The new cameras, they started installing them. We've gotten all the ones that were up originally, and we're adding several more here and at the clinics. So as soon as they run the wire for that, that will all be up and going. And I'm estimating we should be through with all of those by the end of January. All right. Any questions?
Got a lot going on, man.
Yes, a lot more than that. But I'm not going to bore you with all the other stuff. But yeah, a lot going on. All right. Thank y'all.
How's
Y'all have a great
your
day.
staffing okay? Your staffing.
It's it's just me and Troy. Yeah, Chris left, and I've had nobody applying for a job or anything. I've got it out there. I talk to people as I go, and say, hey, somebody needs a maintenance job, and yeah, kind of hard. I do have a new PRN housekeeper. She's starting to give me some time, and she's going to be the 11 to 8 shift, so that gives somebody there a little bit later at night for the nursing to keep the ER straightened out for us. All right. Yeah. All right.
Anybody else? Thank you.
Thank y'all.
A quick 5-minute break, y'all.
So just overall for October 2024, the net income for the hospital, and you'll see that at the bottom of the sheet, the net income did finish at a loss of $9,000. That is as compared to a budgeted loss, though, of $66,000. So the budget of the hospital did outperform what was anticipated from a loss perspective for the month. Now I'm going to walk through some drivers, though, to kind of highlight and speak about the impact for the month of October. When you look at, and I'm going to start from the top and kind of walk down and touch on some key points. But when you look at the gross patient revenue for the hospital, we did finish at $1.4 million for the month, and that was down about $66,000 or approximately 4% versus the budget. The patient care, the drivers behind those revenues being slightly down, the patient care volumes were down primarily across nearly all service lines. And this, again, when I say down, I'm saying compared to what we had forecasted from a budgetary standpoint. The inpatient activity was relatively flat, although total patient down days were only down 3 days versus our budget. However, the main driver behind some of the decreases in revenues compared to budget was related to the outpatient activity. And we did see, the ER. The ER is categorized from a revenue standpoint within outpatient. We did see the ER down about 36 or roughly 8% in visits compared to budget, which, again, it's nearly 1 visit on average per day that we were down for the month of October. We did also experience, lesser mammos than what we had seen versus the run rate as well, and then some lesser lab activity for the hospital, which, again, some of that lab activity, as we have dug a little deeper into that, is being driven from insurance plans as well. So there's ongoing discussions and some opportunity there that we may be able to restore some of the lab activity. When you look at, yes, sir.
I'm looking at the front sheet here with the financial revenues and the breakdown of revenues. It looks like the big driver is really outpatient services.
That's great.
That went down about $611,000 from prior. So what's driving that outpatient?
Yeah, and absolutely. And what I was referencing, and that's compared to prior year. That's year over year versus the budgetary standpoint. And what I was discussing, Bill, when I look at, and I'll flip.
I got a question. We were closed for 3 days. Is that part of this right here? The hurricane. We had mandatory evacuation.
Right. September. At the end.
In September, right?
Yeah, this is October's.
October, okay.
Yeah, October's numbers. Yeah,
never mind.
Yeah, running through. Yeah. So, but to Bill's comment, and so forth, when you look at year over year, and we also did, Bill carried forward some of what we anticipated, some of the more positive activity into the budget as well. Our emergency rooms down 10% versus where we were last year, down 8% versus budget. Outpatient activities down 15%. Again, a lot of that is driven from lab activity, and mammos were down as well compared to where we were from a run rate standpoint. And our clinics, although have seen stronger performance from a budgetary standpoint and so forth, were down too. So we were really nearly down across all patient care activities from a budgetary standpoint, but outpatient was a bigger driver overall, right, and a bigger driver for declines than what we had last year at this time. So
I think that might be related to the fact that we lost the doctors, people lost their primary care physicians that they were used to going to, and we changed that up. So they're now struggling to figure out where they're going to go to. I mean, you the same thing, so did I, as far as whether I was going to stick with the outpatient services after we lost the physicians that we're used to going to. So I'm wondering if
well, we're seeing,
the lack of consistency with physicians across the board would then, have people reconsidering who they might be their primary.
Well, some of that can be what you're saying, can factor in. But I think, if you look at, the days that the providers were out. For the month of October, we had some providers that were out, different things, trainings, but also on the outpatient side of labs, you had different insurance groups now is having individuals not come here because we're not under the network. Like I think Quest, for example, Quest individuals need to go to the health department for labs unless they want to pay out of pocket fee. And so those numbers may go down a little bit because of that.
Yeah, that's what I was referencing with lab activity. I mean, that was a big decline, right? Seeing a lot of those tests that's being driven from insurance plans to make sure you're getting the Quest or the different draw stations versus coming here and having that lab work done. So a lot of it is being insurance driven from that aspect.
So what insurance companies don't we partner with that they're doing placement?
Well, we do partner with the insurance companies. It's the insurance companies in their own beneficiary plan for the individuals is driving that. So like if you have, I'll just use Florida Blue, for example. Florida Blue may require their beneficiaries to go to a Quest draw station versus having that lab activity being done here at the hospital. It's non-covered.
Well, and as David said, there's some insurance companies, Florida Blue, for one, require their enrollees to go to a LabCorp Quest for their lab work, or they don't pay for it. So they drive that aspect of it. So that's some of that.
This is new for this year because that wasn't happening last year.
Well, and Heather can speak to it a little bit more on this. It's new. Well, it started back in the early part of the year because we changed contracts with Florida Blue. They gave us a favorable contract, and so I guess they began to realize what they hadn't been doing to us, and they realized they had to be a more stickler what we were doing. Because initially they were paying those claims, and then they realized that, hey, hold up, we're gonna require our people to go where they need to go at, and that way the customer don't get a out of network fee. They can go to the health department. Sometimes they go to the clinics too, but most of them normally usually come to our office, front office there, get their lab.
And just overall too, from a clinic standpoint, I know Susie spoke about that as well. I mean, the clinic activity, is when you look at it from a run rate standpoint, is continuing to improve. Although down versus budget, and I don't want that to sound negative. I mean, it's continuing to improve. Budget was maybe a little bit too aggressive for October, for example, but we're seeing a upward tick. I think from the provider leaving town and so forth, we're seeing more some activity coming to our clinics here.
Well, as we said, the outpatient clinics are drivers to us.
That's right.
For the services.
Well, and we also have, and I know this is a program that was implemented last year as well, the chronic care program. We've seen it's leveled off, but when you're seeing consistently about 130 or so per month through that program, I mean, that's going to drive and drive additional testing as well. So we anticipate more improvement there.
Well, and the other thing is that across our hospitals, we have seen October being slower than what we, for whatever reason, across, especially the Florida hospitals, we've seen the volume for October across the board go be down.
Football.
Yeah. But what's going to happen also, you're going to get in we're moving into the flu month, so your respiratory illness, you're going to begin to see that pretty high level, November, December. Although December is around the Christmas holidays, but still, the respiratory months will begin. We're in that month now. That the next 4 months, you'll probably see an uptick in a whole lot of different areas.
Is there some way, quick question, is there some way or some database somewhere that tells us in this county where the number of Blue Cross, the number of CHP, how do we get our handle on that? Because my thinking is, if you got a lot of CHP, and if you're successful in bringing the hospital employees over to CHP, then are we the ones that negotiate with LabCorp to put a place down here, or is it who does that?
Well, let me answer first question about, claims data really is available and is information that we can get. You can now get outpatient claims data, not just inpatient, outpatient as well. And I think that's where you're driving your question towards, is we can see where activity in this county, based on that claims data, what payers are utilizing services in this county, and quite frankly, what services are leaving the county, because it will follow the claims associated with the residents of the county. So yeah, we can get granular enough to see that, see where and who and what and where they're going. Absolutely. We did that, a couple years back. We did our strategic planning here as part of our process of meeting with the board. This is before you came onto the board, part of that process, we do data mining and look into out-migration patterns and so forth. And David, I know you're trying to chime in, but I'll let you.
Go ahead.
And so part of that process, we do that initially. One is, it is look at the out-migrations, look at the aging population as well, and determine what future services or services would and can be, provided here within the county. And obviously, part of that is a physician needs assessment, identifying the age of the providers in the community as well as the gap that's presented as well.
And I was just echo. We look at the data of how many individuals being served in the county, where they're receiving those services at. Now specifically with the insurance companies, that's something we have to count on really to dig in there and get us that kind of data, because that data would be good because we can look at the county and say, okay, how many CHPs we have, how many Blue Crosses we have, how many United Healthcare. Then you kind of like to build the services up around here. But I can tell you that, most, I can't say that. CHP is pretty prevalent, but Florida Blue is also in the county because, individuals get to go towards the Panama City area. But we do also have, like, most of your major employers here have kept their plans into a CHP model, like the school districts, like your county agencies. Now, your state agencies, they have Florida Blue and CHP, so you may have more of a Florida Blue population there. But some of your major players in the county have a CHP model for the county employees. But the state employees is a huge employer system here in the county as well. But it'll be interesting to look at that data and see what we can pull down.
Yeah. Okay. And then your other question about contracting. Yeah, we contract with payers. The hospital contracts with payers for services that's provided. And then since I was on volumes, I'll just finish with the ambulance and the EMS runs and so forth. I know that was a good discussion, I thought, earlier. Great questions that Mr. Berry had too, because there's questions we have asked, been asked Randall and the team there as well. And it's something for us to be aware of, is that, one of the things they highlighted there was overall transports, and that's calls they're getting, whether it's billable or non-billable, that overall has been pretty steady, pretty consistent for them, which means their cost of care has been pretty consistent and pretty, as well. But when you talk about billable runs being down, of course, that's what the group is able to be able to get paid for the services. So cost is continuing, transports are continuing, revenue that's being generated from the billable side of it is going down some. So, just something to be aware of and be thinking about. I know Randall touched on, a sensitive area about, possibly charging for the non-billables in a way, but there's a lot to go into that as far as evaluating how and what, and that is. But again, I just wanted to touch on that because I know that was talked about earlier, and keep in mind the revenue side of that is going down, the billables going down.
But if that's the case, then you've got to turn around and find some place that you can grow that absorption into.
Absolutely.
Where is that you can do it? if you're negotiating all these rates, you gotta put it somewhere.
You got to put
Or
some.
else
You
you're
got to.
gonna take a loss.
You got to put it somewhere the hospital continues to operate the EMS under operations. That is correct. And you're exactly correct. I mean, hospitals in a lot of cases end up subsidizing the gap in that situation. Okay, just moving down the income statement, though, just touch on a few other areas. Net patient revenue, with revenues being down, net patient revenue did finish down as well. Again, that's what we anticipate getting. Cash for the services that's being provided was down about $22,000 or approximately 3% versus budget. Again, mostly driven from the decreased volume that I mentioned earlier as compared to budget. Total hospital operating expenses, I'm moving on down the sheet. Total hospital operating expenses were down approximately $96,000 though, or approximately 9% versus budget. I want to share that is down at a faster pace than what our revenue decline is. So that's a good indicator that expenses are being managed appropriately and reflect with revenues down, our expenses are down at a faster and
I think there's also an anomaly in there with pharmaceuticals.
That's correct.
Pharmaceuticals down 173.
And that's
now, that was
year over year.
because we had that one patient that had the very
That's
expensive
absolutely
medicine
correct.
at one point.
Last
So
year.
That's an anomaly. I mean,
And that's
if you put that into the percentages of that we're controlling expenses, I think you got to pull that out.
Right.
And then really look at what
Sure.
the expenses are to say that we're managing.
Absolutely. 100% correct. 100% correct.
Mary, you like that?
Yep.
Amen.
Absolutely. And what you're referencing to is the prior year comparison to prior year. I'm referencing compared to budget. But to your point, though, what we look at from an industry standpoint too is how does those supplies, which supplies do include not only the medical supplies, but it also includes the pharmaceutical. How does that compare from an overall cost standpoint compared to the net patient revenue or the revenue that the hospital is producing? And from a ratio standpoint, we are in a very good position here as compared to industry averages. That's a good indicator. You're right. Last year completely was an anomaly with the high cost of pharmaceuticals for the one patient that I think it was like 29 doses. Just a few other comments. Personnel costs. Obviously, that is your largest spend. I know I touch on this every month. It's the largest spend of any organization, quite frankly. And personnel includes salary, wages, and the employee benefits. For the hospital, I'm discussing personnel. It was down approximately $8,000 versus our budget. Again, mostly attributable to those decreases that I mentioned earlier in patient volumes and the monitoring and flexing of variable staffing. Purchase contract services were down approximately $32,000. That's down versus budget. A lot of that is from the lesser revenue producing services such as therapy, and I mentioned earlier some of the volume downs and the therapy down. Therapy is a fee-based, and we're no longer, we're working through some therapy arrangements currently with David as well for the swing bed program, but also TrueBridge, again, it's the patient collections revenue cycle company for the hospital. Their fee is based on a percentage of revenue. So again, revenue down, their fees down. So it kind of just goes hand in hand from that aspect. Supply costs, we've already discussed that. That was down, as you can see as well. And then, again, the variance, as we move on down the income statement variance versus budget within the non-operating, and that does include some deferring of some of the grant activity. And again, I'm comparing this to the budget. But at which time, once, as David outlined there earlier, once the CT renovation, once the CT equipment, once those activities start taking place, we will be able to release some of those grant monies that are now on the balance sheet. Kind of jumping a little bit ahead, but Mr. Berry had a question earlier about the graph. You'll see the drop in the graph, particularly in net income. And if you recall, that income was taken into income, but we did move it out of income and put it back to the balance sheet as deferred, and it will be released as the activity starts occurring. I'll pause there for a minute and see if there's any other questions related to the financial income statement for the month of October before I move over and talk about the balance sheet and some cash flow comments.
You're doing a great job.
I have one question.
Yes, sir.
Really is Mr. Walker. What, Heather and Sam, they're the two that do the coding? Are they the ones that do the coding?
Heather, we have a coding team with two of these.
Correct. We have a coding team.
What, okay, a coding team with TrueBridge, what does that mean? Is that, do they code or do you do the coding?
They code, we prepare the chart, make sure all the documentation is on hand before we send it to the coders. And then once the coders with TrueBridge complete the coding, and they'll send back any queries, position queries, or, we're missing an order, or we need stop times for these IV infusions. Once we get everything together, then they will send it to drop the line.
I'm a patient. How long does it take for you to get my information together to send to them?
Generally takes me about a week, and that's because we have to add the medications to the ER charts before I send it to the coders. And standard practice should be 3 days.
Do you ever, what happens when you don't identify a certain cost that should have been?
The coders alert me if I don't identify a certain cost. Like, for example, hey, this person was given Centerpoint. You need to add it. And they send it back to me, and then I'll add it and send it back to them.
Is TrueBridge the best in the business?
Yeah,
I'm going
Yeah.
somewhere with this.
Go ahead.
I mean, there are different coding companies. I think, we've had good experience with TrueBridge. We've had good experience with other companies. TrueBridge provides a comprehensive solution for the hospital because they do the billing too. So there's two different, there's coding and there's billing, and they provide the overall solution and code, and they drop bills as well. So.
The coding comes from here, though, right?
Well, what we do is we prepare all the information. We get all the doctor notes, the medications, and all that. We compile all that, and then we send that to TrueBridge, which actually does the coding. And then, as mentioned, if there's something that they see is, hey, the doctor says reference this, but there's no code for this, or there's no backup information, you get that. That's where the back and forth goes on that aspect of it. But we compile everything, we send it to the coders. The coders then assign a code to it, and then the billing team drops it. Now, one thing that we periodically do is to validate. We take so many charts and say, okay, TrueBridge coded this code for this patient. Is that accurate? So that we can check and balance to make sure that they are coding it appropriately.
Is that after the fact?
It's after the fact.
Typically after the fact.
And if they have coded it wrong, do we have a vehicle to get us back to recoup that money?
You can, and they're within
We all know where I'm going.
I do, and I think to help as well, and this is something we can look at having provided here. We work with a coding audit, a group that does coding audits as well, and it's a independent third party outside of the third party that's doing the coding. So the hospital does utilize TrueBridge for coding, as Michael outlined. I mean, the hospital, after the physician and clinical team charts, documents, and so forth, and Heather's able to gather all the information, the charging, and so forth that's going to go along with that, and the coding team assigns the code. And that coding
Heather's
team.
only as good as what the doctor's notes are. Right?
That is correct. That is
So,
correct. From
how
a
do
gathering.
we ensure that we have got, or do we even, sure we care, because every time you see that money go down,
That's right.
it has a lot to do with what has been put down initially on the paper and how they've had to be able to extract it and then get it to the coding system and get it billed.
Yeah, this is not, let me just give you a little history, just with some understanding. 2019, I was on the board. We were on the hospital board, and realized when the new CEO came in, realized that there was 1.6 million, 1 point some million dollars that was uncollected at that time. Yeah, that was left on the table. So when we came in, they began to have these different groups, look at it within the hospital, really, to look at our systems, the coding part. So we did a lot of work in that area because really collecting your money starts when people come through the front door. Make sure everything is in line with that. And then it goes like a cycle, per se. So we focus a lot on the coding part of it. Not only coding, but the whole revenue cycle piece. As soon as you come in, make sure I got the right address, make sure everything is correct in there. Then was the coding with the physicians and all that. That was another big piece of that. I think now, and Heather can back me up on this, give me her point of view. The last few years, we probably have been the best that we can be with that. Now, on a weekly basis, we meet for every 2 weeks now, we meet with TrueBlue. We look at all that stuff, the coding, kind of stay on top of it, per se. So we've been doing a better job with that, I believe. But we had a big issue here in 2019. Previously, you had money left on the table. Go ahead, Heather.
As far as the positions of the coders, the TrueBridge coders are very good about, so there's a procedure that was done, and it's on the order, and it's documented on the order, but it's not documented on the position that they send it back. They won't release it to be a claim until everything's in order.
And I think you hit right on it right there. What is what is our mechanism or tool to ensure that that doctor has got everything in that package before it comes to Heather? What do we use? What's our feedback?
We have more than one set of eyes looking at it, I think.
Yeah. I may not know how to phrase it, but yeah. Who is auditing the doctor's notes, besides her, right up front, to make sure that we're getting all the money we need? Because I understand that there is so much money left on the table nationwide. That doesn't necessarily mean here, but nationwide, because of the fact the notes aren't sufficient.
But those are the orders the nurses do. We're not careful like that, but before we close the chart, we do find the closing the charts in the nurse room. We end up, most of the time, adding additional orders. The doctor will go in to sew somebody up, and we look to see what they've got, and so really most of the time. So it's the doctors, and then we look, and they forget to put a sterile glove in what they use, so we can charge for that, something like that.
So you're the second set of eyes.
We're the second set of eyes.
Right, immediately.
While the patient's still in the
Do you have to make a lot of those corrections?
They're not really they're not
Additions? Let's put them additions.
We make a lot of, we make a good bit of additions.
Yeah.
So not on medications, but on things like if they're gonna go, sew a patient up, or just like you're sewing up where you're gonna have suture material, you gotta sterile gloves, you gotta have a suture kit. You gotta have the TEAO and the non-adhesive bandage and the betadine cleanse and the saline cleanse, and then you gotta have the rapid on it. So usually while they're doing something like that.
So, do we have a check? Now, I hate to get down in the weeds like this, but do we have a checklist that goes by, or do you have to just get it?
No, we just get it, we do it.
Yeah, and I'll share this with you too. I know we've talked about this with the expansion of some services and dedicated services that we're providing, a lot of our facilities, and one of those is charge master studies. And what that truly looks for is charge capture opportunities. Are we leaving money on the table somewhere, right? I mean, so we look at, are we missing something within our documentation? Are we missing something within our charting? Are we missing something that we could be charging for? And we provide that service, and that is part of the services that Alliant provides to our facilities. We have a dedicated individual and team that leads that for us and provides that.
See, I think you have to change that equation. It's always been top-down pressure on the billings, and we're gonna cut away as much as we can so we can save it.
Right.
The pressure has to come back up this way. As far as, you even have to come along and be so nitpicking that it's gonna drive them crazy.
It drives me crazy when
Yeah.
Kathy comes in the
Okay.
office constantly
Yeah.
wanting me to redo charts.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fine, it's her job, I'm thankful, but
Yeah.
she, I mean, those coders bring stuff back to Heather and Kathy constantly.
Yeah.
And the reason why we
They
did that,
truly do.
and one of the reasons why we so nitpicky on that end, because we saw 1.6 million.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so we try to be nitpicky.
Well.
As of last weekend, I was given a whole lesson on how much money.
Well, and it's part of the revenue cycle wheel too. I mean, if you think about the cycle of patient presents to ultimately get paid for that service. I mean, there's a lot of pieces inside of that, but we do measure and monitor against industry averages, best practices, benchmarks, and so forth. Those are in there, and David alluded to the calls that he has, or the team has with TrueBridge on a biweekly basis, and they provide monthly reports as well. All of these specific areas are compared to a benchmark or to a standard. Now, missing documentation and so forth, as Courtney alluded to, that's constantly being reviewed by all eyes, particularly the coding team will, as she mentioned, frequently ask for additional support or information.
Well, just to add one last thing, a lot of your EMRs will have trigger points for documentation too. That you can't progress, close out a chart unless the doctor hits this button or documents those kinds of things. So I don't know how much of that occurs here, but
Some of that as well.
yeah.
Do certain things with that. I would do things like we care of and plus whenever we have, if something is kind of billed where if it is a suture, it flags certain things as reminders for the access, or when we triage a patient and a complaint, it flags different things, give them 10 flag things for the clinician.
Take care of your pennies and the dollars and take care of themselves.
Right.
All right, if there's no other questions on the income statement, I do want to make a few balance sheet cash flow comments. Cash position for the hospital, again, this is on your balance sheet. You'll see that, I think that was the first page of the financials, actually. And you'll see the cash position of the hospital still, still holds steady. And the hospital did, just a few other notes, the hospital did experience some increase in inpatient receivables when you compare it versus the previous month. We did finish at around 87 days, and you'll see that in your financial indicators. But the reason I'm bringing that up again is because, about 29 to 30 days inside of that is tied up in private pay, self-pay, uninsured patients. Hard to get receipts for those services. So when you net out that differential, you're looking at about 55 or so plus days of non-activity, and that is comparable to an industry standard. We want to see somewhere between 45 to 55 days in that area. That's all tied into governmental and commercial-based payers. The hospital does continue a very manageable process with accounts payable. I do want to put a little bit more context around this. This was mentioned in one of the previous board meetings about the payables. When you look here, it does look to be a large number, 2.8 million. Now let me discuss what's inside of that. Vendor payables, actually due to vendors, it finished October at about 280, just shy of $300,000. So no vendors are at risk, and hospital's doing a good job managing that process. The other numbers that's inside of that, though, is deferred revenues. Deferred revenues is a liability, current liability. It's categorized within the chart of accounts within the current accounting system as an accounts payable, when in theory it's really a current liability. Could be broken out, and I've recommended to have it broken out separately here so that it can be identified and not mistaken as a vendor account payable in this situation. I think it would present better. And that's tied again to the monies I mentioned earlier that were removed out of income, put on the balance sheet, will be released or relieved once activity starts taking place.
DMH payable, is that still out there?
That would be, yeah, that would be long-term. That should be moved down. Yeah, it's probably that other current liability where that's setting, but that's beyond the
Yeah,
12-month period.
basically, what we're doing is we're carrying this long-term payable, and it's really never been called. Y'all are familiar with that, right? Yeah, okay. It's never been called, so you're sitting there saying, oh, I got all these outstanding payables, and this is part of it.
Yep. Yeah.
And you're really that much better off, but it just doesn't look
Yeah.
that.
Well, and also in the payables is the dish lip payback that's in there too. That's sitting in there. I know David and I are going to be talking about another arrangement to work on a payment plan with that as well. Long-term debt standpoint, I mean, you clearly see that there was no new financing arrangements or anything that's taking place in October. Still just the pharmacy capital lease that's out there that's being paid for over the term as well. Some key projects, again, just quick updates here. I mentioned it earlier. The chronic care program continues at a steady pace. I think we've seen over the past 4 months it's kind of leveled off as far as the activity, but that does continue to produce positive results for the hospital. Obviously the mammography, David talked about the different imaging that's new equipment that's coming on board. Those all will continue to help drive stronger performance as well. And then swing bed continues to be a focus here from the inpatient perspective to utilize those services here in the community. And then lastly, the hospital did experience, although we did see some drop in our days, did experience an increase in admissions for the hospital. So that was, again, a positive from a volume perspective. Clinic, I've already touched on that earlier. We mentioned about the EMS runs. And again, I want to kind of readdress that because that's something we'll be discussing more and more as we keep moving forward. The decrease in the billable activity, which is revenue producing, overall transport staying the same, so cost is, staying consistent, kind of going up, with inflationary increases, but revenue's dropping. So we are having a larger gap there. And then last comment I do want to make, and this is I think a very positive comment about the cash position of the hospital. The patient cash collections improved during October versus the previous 3 years. When you look year over year, and as David alluded to, there's been a very solid improvement in overall collections within the organization. We're averaging about 17,000 or so per day on cash collections compared to about 12,000 or so on a daily average the past 3 years. So that's, I think, a very good indicator of that revenue cycle wheel moving better. That's it. Any other questions?
Thank you.
Any other questions? Looking pretty good. Thank you.
We got a long agenda. I'm coming up and then let board know after my report, we have the IT discussion. So we need to probably set some time for that, because this is a lunchroom. The staff usually come in here at 12 o'clock. So I just want to make sure we cognizant of that part. Okay?
You what now?
Say this is a lunchroom. So we want to make sure as we move. I know we got the IT discussion pretty soon. So I want
Moving
to.
on.
I'm gonna move my. Yeah, I'm gonna move. Yeah, we got some food. They got country fried steak today, but I want to make sure we have enough time for that. Everybody got my report here. Just to highlight a couple of items on here. Baker Tilly will be at the county commission meeting on January 7th to provide them with an update. Also, the county has asked Baker Tilly to look at a plan to see what it would cost to bring Weems employees into the county as county employees. That was at the last county commission meeting. Our HRSA audit. HRSA came in for the 340B program Monday and Tuesday, so we had a very detailed audit with them. We won't be able to get the information for the final report probably within 2 to 3 months. A professional employer organization, that's item E. Decision HR is our current PEO, and they merged with our previous PEO company, Martin Business Associates. So a PEO is the company that the hospital employees are leased to. So that's who leased these hospital employees. They're not county-owned. They're leased through a leasing company. John Bear and I had a conversation about getting the addendum, getting an updated addendum or agreement to recognize Decision HR as our current PEO, and to seek Attorney Schuler's guidance on the matter. So the chairman and I will meet with Attorney Schuler for his guidance, then I'll bring it back to the board on that as well. Franklin County Housing Initiative, I'll invite Mr. Bill Williams at the next meeting in January so he can give us a presentation of that, the housing, what they're doing here in the county. Also, we have an IT executive session with Kevin Ward, and I'll give you the scope of services for the IT security profile. And so, anybody have any questions for me regarding my information? Yes. Yeah. And that was one of the reasons why the county had the hospital go into a PEO market, because they didn't, the hospital employees would not be county employees then. Right. Yeah, so all of that had to be. No, yeah. Yeah.
Hopefully the PEO can still provide the workers' comp and the other benefits from HR.
Yeah.
Without the employees being part of that.
Yeah.
They'll be county employees.
Yeah. So all of that will be evaluated, as we move towards that. Okay? All right. Thank you.
So you are getting an addendum to that to change the name?
I'm going to meet with Attorney Schuler and get his guidance.
By the way, just so y'all know, we paid 2% as an override for all this process.
That's it. And we'll break and have a quick, hopefully. Yeah. Okay, we've got a line update. Kozar.
No, just real quickly, I only had two things. Our retreat that we were scheduled to have in October, we had to cancel that. It's been rescheduled for March 12th, 13th, and 14th at the same location, so I just wanted to make sure everybody got that on their calendars. And the only other thing that I wanted to mention, I know in the past meetings we talked about the additional services that we're making available to the Alliant hospitals, cost reporting, physician practice assistance, charge master, strategic pricing, 340B, and managed care contracting. And over the past month, we've had all the CEOs and CFOs on calls introducing this to the on-site teams, and to begin starting to coordinate providing those services to the hospitals as we move forward. So that was just a real quick report that I wanted to give. So,
Real quick, we got a new administration coming on. I don't know who it's going to be, but what is the thoughts on any changes with the federal government and us? Anything? I'm putting you on the spot. I know. I don't know if y'all.
No, I mean, we've heard. I think we've heard a little bit about, some of their plans, but we really won't know until they get in, and whoever's going to be, HHS, secretary, who's going to fall into these places, then we'll, and who gets confirmed and who doesn't get confirmed as to what direction, but we haven't heard of any dramatic changes moving forward as far as that would materially alter, what we would do. Possible. So, yeah, I mean, I personally, I think Ben's would be an excellent choice.
Okay.
Sorry, what were the dates of the retreat again?
12, 13, and 14.
That's Wednesday, Thursday, Friday?
Yeah,
Yeah, okay.
I apologize.
Okay, any board members got anything?
Yes, I do.
Okay?
I would like for the board to consider a consent agenda.
What?
A consent agenda. I've done some calling around.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what that is.
It's an agenda.
No. Consent agenda basically is your routine reports that come on to the board, and it's basically sent up with your board packet. You review it, and it's really just one action. You know, instead of going through each report and having, you know, separate votes or separate activities on each one of those, a consent agenda consolidates that so your routine reports that are included in your packet can be voted on without presentations. It does move the meeting along.
Okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
Exactly. Thank you so very much. I've done some calling around to different hospitals here and other places. And for hospitals this size, 3.5 hours is ridiculous. In my opinion, of course. When we were able to thoroughly address whatever was on the agenda in times past in a very, very thorough way. And now we are here where 3.5 hours, 3 hours, hospital this with people that are still in place that we've had in place for the last, let's see, a long time, but I know for the last 4 years. And we're doing an excellent job. So yes, I would like for us to consider a consent agenda. Routine is the operative word.
And I'll do some, I help. So we'll do some research on that, because I know a lot of other hospitals do that, and I know the county kind of moved towards something like that now. Their meetings will begin to go as well. So we'll do some research, and the next meeting we'll bring it back.
Board members, what do y'all think about looking at that? Good? Yeah.
Well, it would just require that we do our homework in advance, and not rely on sitting here and listening to everybody tell us. We have to do our homework in advance, read the documents that are in front of us, and then we can move forward. But if you don't do that, then the board's not going to move it quick.
No, you're exactly right. We would be required to do what we need to have been doing anyway.
Right. But do it in advance of the meeting so that the meeting could be speeded along.
Exactly right, sir.
Well, I'll look at it. I don't quite understand it, but I'm okay with it. We'll look at it, and with some help, I'll get with them. We'll see what we can do.
Here's some of the criteria. It says criteria on including items in a consent agenda is that all associated documentation must be provided to meeting participants well in advance of the meeting. All the items must be familiar to the board, so any assumption that you can't put in. Require no discussion and have no prior conflict. The bottom line is you got to submit, you get your information, you've got questions, you submit the questions, and those questions, that means doing your homework ahead of time, submit the questions, and the person that's doing the presentation is going to answer your questions when you come in, so everybody has a benefit.
Okay, we'll look at it. I'm not as good doing my homework ahead of time, but I'll be honest with you. I'm admitting it.
That's why you only got C's in school.
Well, no, I only A's and B's, but I was up there if it's due at 8 o'clock in the morning, I brushed it off at 7:45, But no, I think it's a good idea. I think we can narrow this down some, and we'll. I know we'll come up with something, and but now one thing about it, we're gonna need to have we're gonna need to have the document we need about a week ahead, I think. The people are doing stuff like that. Okay, good idea, that's great. I always thought we didn't need to be but every other month, but it calls for, policy calls for us to meet every month. But anyway, anything else? Any other business? Okay, we're adjourning and we're coming right back like 5 minutes. Can we cover this